So today we're starting our new topic on percent. We are going to start talking about what a percent is, how we use it, and how it relates to fractions and decimals. You guys have all heard the word percent before. We can say 100% of you are doing a great job. We know 100% means everybody's doing a great job. Or if I say, well, 50% of Summit Middle School students think math is the best subject ever. You would say, okay, that's about half of Summit Middle School students think that math is the best subject ever. And then you would probably, if you were here right now, start arguing with me about that. Because you know that maybe, in your opinion, way more than 50% thinks math is their best subject. Or maybe you think way less than 50% thinks math is the best subject, which would be more than half or less than half. So pause the video, grab a piece of paper. We're going to take some notes on percent. While you're doing that, I'm going to write this right here. This is going to be my note page over here, percent. And what we did in class while you were gone is we started with this right here.
How does percent relate to the whole? Think about this question during the lesson. A percent is a rate in which the first term is compared to 100. The percent is the number of hundredths that represents the part of the whole. What percent of people prefer bright white toothpaste?
Okay, we hear percent a lot when we're trying to figure out how many people feel a certain way about something. Percents are used when taking surveys all the time. So the first thing we're going to write about percent is that percent, the definition of a percent is that it is a rate out of 100. We know that a rate is a ratio. We just took a whole assessment on that. A rate is just a special type of ratio where what you're comparing are not the same. A percent is also always going to be a part to total relationship. It's a part to total ratio. And a percent is another way of expressing another way of expressing less than one whole. A percent expresses a part of a whole. 50% means not everybody thinks that way. Part of the student population at Summit Middle School thinks math is the best subject ever. Not the whole middle school, less than the whole middle school. It's just another way of expressing part of one whole, the same way a fraction is part of one whole. If you have half a pie, you do not have the whole pie. And then a decimal, 0.5, is how we say 1/2. So we can say 1/2 is equal to 0.5, which is equal to 50%. So what we're going to be talking about today then is this bright white toothpaste issue. Like I said, we use percent a lot when we're trying to figure out statistics and data and who thinks what. And in this example, they're talking about toothpaste, and they say 7 out of 10 people prefer bright white toothpaste. So our ratio relationship is people who like this toothpaste compared to all the people that they asked. This is not people who like toothpaste compared to people who don't. That is a part to part ratio. A percent is a part to total ratio. So it's people who like it compared to all. And in this case, 7 people like it compared to the 10 people that they asked. And we want to figure out what this is as a percent. We know that a percent is a rate out of 100. So what we need to do is we need to scale up this fraction, this rate, so that it becomes a rate out of 100. 10 doesn't really work for us. We need to get up to 100. I know that I can multiply the bottom by 10 to get to 100, which means I can multiply the top by 10, and that would be 70. Which tells me, since the percent is a rate out of 100, I'm going to take this numerator and find out that 70% of the people asked like bright white toothpaste. I can do the same with the people that dislike. Now I can look at that other dislike compared to all. So the difference between what we were doing is we cannot use any part to parts. It's always got to be a part to total. I first did my likes to all, and now I can do my dislikes to all. And I can see that 3 people didn't like this toothpaste. What percent of people polled did not like this toothpaste? To get that, I need to scale up to 100. This has to be a rate out of 100. Multiply this, and I find out that 30 out of 100, or 30% of people, did not like this bright white toothpaste. And I know these figures are correct because if I have this part of don't like and I add it to this part of do like, I will get everybody asked. Meaning 7 out of 10 plus 3 out of 10 is equal to 10 out of 10. And we know from our fraction work in elementary school that when you have 10 out of 10, it's equal to 1 whole. Similarly, if I added my percents up, 0 plus 0 is 0, 7 plus 3 is 10, 70% plus 30% is my 1 whole. That is 100%. I think that this would be a good example to copy into your notebook if you want to go back. You also need to probably have a couple of benchmarks. We're going to remember that 100% is equal to 1 whole. And we're going to remember that 0% is equal to 0. So now we know that 0, 100, and 50% are kind of our benchmarks that we're going to be using as we go back and forth. Go ahead and pause this video, make sure you've got your notes on your paper, and I would write these 2 examples in your comp book. Go back to when we started talking and you can write it down with me. Here's another example. This would also be another example to have in your comp book. The results of a school survey, so again with the surveys, show that 3 out of 5 students bring their lunch to school. What percent of the students bring their lunch to school? So I am comparing, and I would recommend using this word map, that we are figuring out who brings their lunch to school compared to all the people that eat lunch in school. Always a part to total. And we can see that here we have 3 students that bring their lunch out of 5 that they asked. We want to figure out what percent this is. This is not yet a rate out of 100, but I can make it a rate out of 100. I'll pause this while I answer the phone. Okay, I'm back. Let's see where we were. We've got students that bring their lunch compared to all students. It was 3 students bring out of 5 students. We need to make this a rate out of 100 so we can figure out what the percent is. Because I know that 5 is a factor of 100, I can multiply by its factor partner to get to 100. Meaning, I know I can multiply 5 times 20 and get to 100. Whatever I do on the bottom, I'm going to do on the top. 3 times 20 also equals 100. I'm sorry. 3 times 20 will equal 60. Made a mistake there. Now I can figure out my percent because the percent is always going to be the numerator in my rate out of 100, which means that this is going to be 60%. 60% bring their lunch to school. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be practicing how to turn fractions into percents. So I'm going to post in the stream a doc, and it's going to have some fractions on it. And the fractions may look like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And some of it will be colored in. I'm going to go right here. That's the lunch bell. So the first thing you're going to do on this doc is you're going to figure out what fraction it is. This is 2 out of 10. And then you're going to figure out what the rate out of 100 is, meaning you're going to scale this up to 20 out of 100. Once you have scaled it up to 20 out of 100, you're going to figure out that this is 20%. And it's going to be in a doc that looks like this. Oh, I hope that was going to pop into a rectangle.